Howdy! I hope everyone's doing great. I hope everyone's ready for test week. I have a couple of tests this week as well, so I hope studying is going well for everyone. Howdy! I hope everyone's doing great. So welcome to the first general meeting for SWE. Today we have Phillips 66 with us. And so first we're going to start with the little engineering icebreaker. There are 10 pairs of socks in a drawer, each sock separated to be by themselves. The room is completely dark. What is the minimum number of socks you should grab to ensure you have a matching pair? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I guess it's not sharing to Facebook.
No, it's working.
Oh, it's working. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back.
And Deepa guesses 2.
2, okay. Good guess, but 2 is not the correct answer.
Isabella guesses 6. Samantha says 20.
Both great guesses, but they're not correct.
Molly says 10.
Isabella guesses 6. Samantha says 20.
That is not correct. Both great guesses, but they're not.
And then Isabella says 10, and Abby says 6. Nat says 8.
Okay, well, it's actually, if I can press the answer is actually 11. Because by grabbing one extra more than 10, you can ensure you'll have a match. But that was a great job, everyone. So for sign in and to receive a point, please fill out the Google form. You can get to it with the QR code and scanning it. I'll give everyone a few minutes to sign in and get that SWE point. Okay, well, hopefully everyone has scanned the QR code and started filling out the Google form. Just a quick agenda. We're going to hear updates from our officers, and then we're going to go into our presentation from Phillips 66. So for our first officer updates, we have our freshman representatives. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. I guess I can go first. Hi, I'm Marissa Evanshire. I am a current freshman here. I'm thinking right now that I want to study computer engineering. I was born in Chicago, but I moved in Dallas, so that's where I really consider myself to be from. In high school, I did engineering club, computer science club, choir, theater, and cross country. For my hobbies, I think I would have to say singing, running, and definitely napping. And then for my fun fact, I put, I'm very accident prone, but I've interestingly never broken a bone. So I hope to work with all of you later.
Great, thank you, Marissa.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Hello,
no.
Chandler Richmond. Obviously I'm a freshman rep, My intended major is electrical engineering, but of course, I'm open to most types of engineering. I'm from Mansfield, Texas. In high school, I was involved in student council, track and field, basketball, AVID, African Student Organization, community service, and National Honor Society. My hobbies are reading, playing basketball, and watching movies. I also like napping. I'm a huge Mavericks fan, but I actually have broken a bone. I broke my wrist, so I mean, you got me on that one. Nice to meet you all.
Great. Thank you, Chandler. Next, we're going to be hearing from our president.
So apparently, Department
All right. Howdy, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I'm going to assume yes. Okay, so national conference applications are open, so you can apply to be sponsored. It is completely virtual this year.
I know this is
some benefits. Oh, so sorry.
One thing.
I am so sorry. I was like coming from another meeting and it's like kind of running late. So yes, national conference benefits include like keynote speakers from females leaders in industry, and then there's a huge career fair with some diverse companies. So please apply by Friday, September 25th at midnight, and email me if you have any questions. The application can be found on the website and the Facebook page.
Perfect.
And then I am starting a new program called Excel, which stands for Excelling at College Engineering Leadership, which is a new program to like help upperclassmen as they're transitioning from university to their career. So some of the benefits of joining this program include just having like a support group of women who are going through the same transitions as you, because I know like I still have a long way to go before I'm ready to graduate. And then we'll be bringing in some speakers to discuss like how you can make that smooth transition, maybe have like Career Center or like the Money Education Center to talk about like different ways of how to, handle your mortgage and taxes and all that, and then build leadership skills. So please apply by Friday, September 11th at midnight on the website or the Facebook page, and contact me if you have any questions. Thanks, and Gigam.
Our professional development.
Hey everyone, so we have our first event for PD on this Thursday. We actually sent out the RSVP and today is actually the last day to sign up, so please do. It is a Tech Talk with Spunk, and we're going to have a Women in Tech panel. We hope to see you there, and email us if we have any questions. Thanks, and Gigam.
SWE rep.
Howdy, I'm the SWE rep, Amanda, and my committee applications are open. So the 3 positions in my committee are the Student Engineers Counselor, Women in Engineering Counselor, and External Activities Coordinator. So details about these positions can be found in the application, but generally your responsibilities will be assisting with planning events to represent SWE in events like that include hackathons, SEC's Envision Conference, eWeek, and more. So if you're interested, you can find the application on the SWE website or just scan the QR code. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me at swerep@swetmu.org. Thanks, and Gigam.
Perfect. Now for outreach.
All right, so we have extended our application deadline. So please apply by tomorrow at midnight. And then our first meeting will be on Sunday the 13th at 6 p.m. And you can go to the SWETAMU website, and under the outreach tab under programs, you can find our application. So yeah, thanks, and Gigam.
Flame.
Howdy, I'm Andrea. I'm the Flame Chair, and today is the last day to sign up for Flame, which is Females Leading Aggies as Mentors in Engineering. For this program, you'll be paired with a mentor who's currently in a career in the engineering field, and they will assist you with anything. They're like, your big sister pretty much. And there will be 2 workshops this semester, and there will be bi-weekly emails so you get a communication with your mentor. So please sign up by tonight, by midnight. You can use this QR code or go to the website or in social media, Facebook or Instagram. Thanks and gig 'em.
Perfect, thank you. High school conference.
Hi everyone. So just a quick update for high school conference. If you're interested in joining the design committee, please fill out this form by September 22nd. You can scan the QR code to access it, and you'll be helping us with a ton of things for the conference, like planning our design challenges that we're going to be sending out. We're also going to have like an alternate coding challenge that you can help with, and any of the activities we have for the conference, like the icebreakers. So it'll be a lot of fun, and you'll get a lot of cool experience for the semester. So please apply, and just the deadline's the 22nd. And we should have the form up on social media soon as well, but you can scan this QR code. Thanks, and Gigam.
Perfect, thank you. Public relations.
Hi, so my committee will be involved in managing SWE's Instagram account and making new flyers for upcoming events, as well as our end of year hype video. And so if you love any kind of drawing, graphic design, or video editing, or you just want to learn more about any of those things, I'd love if you could apply. On the website, you can see the application on the PR tab or on the homepage, or you could scan the QR code. Thanks, and gig 'em.
Perfect.
Oh, and these are all of SWE's social media accounts, so please follow all of these. In addition to the ones listed here, we have a YouTube channel, and you can access that at the bottom of our website on the link.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions from our members?
Just wait a moment. The stream is has a slight lag, so.
Okay, perfect. Will you let me know if there's any questions, Michaela?
I will.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So with no questions, I would like to introduce Phillips 66. Minju will be presenting along with Robin about their company.
Did we lose Minju?
No, can you hear me? Sorry, I was trying to switch over and share my screen. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Howdy. So yeah, my name is Minju Guo. I'm with Phillips 66 along with Robin and Caitlin tonight. We're pleased to be, I think, a part of your first virtual general meeting. So hope it goes well. I think I'm going to start out with just a quick introduction of each of us. So again, my name is Minju Guo. I studied civil engineering at Texas A&M, class of 2007. And I'm currently at Phillips 66 as the Director of Commercial Optimization in our midstream organization. I've been there for about 12 years. So I'll pass it off to Robin.
Howdy, I am Robin Brown. I graduated from Texas A&M in 1991. I know it's a long time ago, chemical engineering. And I went to work for, at the time it was Conoco, but we merged with Phillips 66, or sorry, with Phillips in 2002. And then we split again. And so we are back to, I'm on the Phillips side now. So it's been almost 29 years, and I work in what's called value chain strategy and optimization.
All right, and my name is Caitlin Pascal. I'm a mechanical engineer from A&M, class of 2014. I've been with Phillips 66 6 years, and I interned twice prior to that. My current role, I am a scheduler for petroleum coke.
Awesome. So we do have just a few slides to go over who we are, Phillips 66, and Caitlin will run through that. And then afterwards, I just put together a few slides on virtual interviewing slash just hiring events. So we just had the engineering career fair we were part of. So it was just fresh on my mind, got some input from fellow recruiters, and wanted to pass along some tips for those of you attending more career fairs or have any virtual interviews coming up. So with that, Caitlin, and I'm driving, so Caitlin, kind of let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. You can go to the next one. Basically, this is saying if we say anything, don't hold us to it if you go by stock or anything afterwards. So to start, just a little bit about Phillips 66. We officially are a diversified energy manufacturing and logistics company with 4 major businesses: midstream, chemicals, refining, marketing, and specialties. So just to kind of back up what that means, I know we probably have some freshmen here, and if you're like me as a freshman, you don't know anything about oil and gas. So I'm going to start by explaining upstream versus downstream, and then kind of where Phillips 66 fits into it when it comes to the oil and gas industry. So we have upstream, which is basically pumping the oil out of the ground, anything just to get that crude oil out. We do not do any of that. We are a downstream company. So once the crude oil is out of the ground, it is then transported to a refinery, which is the downstream piece. And the refinery does the processing to turn this crude oil into gasoline, into jet fuel, into diesel fuel, into all these products that we can actually use on a day-to-day basis. So that's where Phillips 66 comes in. And we have multiple refineries all across the US. And we also have our midstream business, which is basically anything that ties those two together, kind of the transportation logistic pieces to keep everything moving. We also have a chemicals business, and then we have our marketing and specialties as well. So I'll touch on each of those later and kind of go into what that means. Our mission is providing energy and improving lives, and our values are safety, honor, and commitment, which align very closely with the Texas A&M values. We have global operations, but we're headquartered in Houston, Texas. That's where Minju, Robin, and I all work, and our stock is PSX. So you can go to the next slide, Minju. And if y'all have any questions, feel free along the way to send them however y'all are sending them, and don't hesitate to interrupt us. So we're a diversified downstream company. So here are those 4 business units that I talked about initially. So the midstream piece is the pipelines, the tanks, all of the gathering system that moves this product and this crude to where it needs to go. The next business unit is refineries. So we have 13 refineries in the US and 1 in Europe. And they, like I said, turn this crude oil into the products that we use on a day-to-day basis. So obviously the main one that's going to come to mind for y'all is gasoline. And you see the Phillips 66 gas stations around, but we also do diesel, jet fuel, and quite a few other products as well. The next one is chemicals. So we have a 50% interest in Chevron Phillips Chemical Company. The other 50%, no surprise, is owned by Chevron. So they operate as their own company. Chevron Phillips does, like at the career fair, it's Chevron Phillips Recruiting. They're their own business, but we own 50%, and a lot of plastics and different other chemicals are processed through the Chevron Phillips business. And then finally, we have our marketing and specialties. This is basically getting this product that we use every day out to the consumer. So we have our different gas stations. We have 7,500 in the US and 1,600 in Europe. And then we also have a lubricants business as well. So those are the 4 main businesses of Phillips 66. So here's just kind of a visual of how all of this kind of fits together. So like I said, we have the wellhead where crude oil and then liquids and natural gas come up. Phillips 66 doesn't touch that part. We touch it kind of the next phase here. So I'll go across the top with crude oil. So we have all of the pipelines. Things can move via marine, via rail, and those go into our refineries. From there, we then have the same thing out as far as the products moving via pipelines, via terminals, and via marine. and then it's marketed. The bottom kind of follows more of the natural gas phase, which we do touch some of the midstream components of that, but for the most part, we also have DCP Midstream, which is our midstream operating business. Similar to CPChem, it operates as its own entity in the NGL and natural gas space. We can go to the next one. Okay, and then just a few things to kind of highlight Phillips 66 outside of the workplace. Phillips 66 does a good job as far as commitment to the community. They're very big on community service. Each employees actually get 2 community service days. In addition to your vacation days and whatnot, you get 2 days to take off specifically for community service. So you can go out into your community, into whatever organization is important to you, and dedicate your time to that. You can see here some other fun facts as far as the different things that the employees do. One big thing that Phillips 66 is involved in is education and literacy. So they do a lot of junior achievement days to help give back to the community. They also are big on Habitat for Humanity. So there's lots of different opportunities to continue the service aspect. I know that is really big at Texas A&M into your career at Phillips 66. The next slide is about our commitment to sustainability. So as an energy company, we want to make sure we're manufacturing and delivering affordable and clean products into a safe environment, and make sure that the environment is being put first. So we contribute to the well-being of our communities by investing quite a bit of money into the safety, environmental, and reliability aspect of our company. As you can see, there's been $8+ billion invested. We have quite a lower total recordable rate versus the refining industry, which has to do with our safety performance. So really big on the safety side and the environmental side. At Phillips 66, they say that they want everyone to go home safer than when they started. So they are big on safety and on the environmental side as well, to make sure that we are moving the direction that we want to move and that the global energy field is moving as well. And then finally, just kind of another fun fact that a lot of people don't know about Phillips 66 is that we do have a whole research center in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, with over 370 employees. They have over 350 active patents right now, and they're researching all different areas outside of the oil and gas specific. So they do a lot of oil and gas technology, but they do a lot of the environmentally friendly and sustainability side of the energy industry as to where we're moving. So as far as water consumption goes, biofuels, greenhouse gas emissions, and power generation. So even though we are an oil and gas company, we're ultimately an energy company and do invest and take the time into these other technology areas to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. And I think that that might be it for the company overview. Yep.
Do you have any questions about the company overview piece, or should we keep going?
I don't see any questions just yet.
Okay, perfect. So like I mentioned before, just thought I would talk to you guys about virtual interviewing. I know we're experiencing a lot of new things. And so the interviewees and the interviewers, I mean, doing virtual interviewing, it's all new. And we have the virtual career fair as well. I think it might have been probably one of the earlier ones. I know a lot of different, not business units, colleges are doing their career fairs later, which some of y'all might attend as well. So thought it might be helpful to go through some of this stuff. All right, so first, test your setup in advance. I know for the career fair specifically, I think it depended on the company what platform they were using to actually conduct their interviews. But you know, try out your audio and video connectivity beforehand. Call a friend and confirm they can see and hear you, and set up your accounts for all the software Again, I don't know what it looked like, but like if you didn't have WebEx already set up, maybe it would have moved slower, and all of a sudden you're in there and this company's using WebEx for their career fair. I think it would have been helpful to have everything already set up just in case. And of course, set up in a quiet place where you won't have any interruptions. One of the big things, and a lot of comments, a lot of feedback that I got, is just make sure there's nothing distracting in the background. A plain white wall would be great, but if not, you know, if you're in your room, that's the only place you can be. Just make sure it's tidy. I don't want to see your unmade bed or your closet door open with piles of clothes, your boxers on your bed, you know, unnecessary paraphernalia like random rock band posters or something. Just, you know, just try and keep it professional looking. Just, we want to focus on you and not be staring at anything else in your room that may be interesting. Another thing is to have good lighting. No shadows cast on your face. I'm probably an example today of what not to do. I actually don't have any lights on, so my face is glowing a little bit, but I'm trying to hide from my kids. So, but you know, we want to be able to see you. It's a lot harder when you're not in person. So good lighting so we can really see the facial expressions and just get to know you a little bit better would be great. I did get a specific comment to turn off ceiling fans because I guess it causes like a strobing effect as it goes under the light in your room, and can be quite distracting as well. So anyways, again, it's always helpful to try it out, call a friend, and they might be able to help tell you, hey, I can see this and that's kind of distracting or whatnot. So okay, next is to dress professionally. Don't skip out on it just because you're virtual. I feel like it would also help you kind of feel the part if you're dressed up, but we definitely will notice. So, you know, dress professionally, same as you would if you were going to an interview in person. And again, not just what you're wearing, but don't look like you just rolled out of bed. Brush your hair, kind of take the time to do it. Shave. Well, I guess, I don't know if there's any guys on the call, but clean shaven or neatly shaven. Log in early if possible, on time at a minimum. I know sometimes like with the career fair, it's not like you can log in ahead of time, but if it's an interview, definitely make sure you're in on time or early. And then be prepared. Again, it might be different interview versus career fair, but we had people trying to like Google during the interview. If we asked like, hey, do you know who Phillips 66 is? And you can kind of see them Googling. Don't do that. It's distracting, but also you're not prepared. So it's definitely, you stand out if you have some knowledge of the company, you've done your research, and if you can ask good questions of the interviewer as well. You don't want it to be like you're interviewing them, but if you can ask good questions about the company, especially in a way that shows that you've done your research, that would be great. And then have a copy of your resume in front of you for a quick reference and talking points. I remember I had some people, because I have your resume pulled up. And if I am referencing something and they're like, oh yeah, I think that was on there, you should have it there. You should know it, be able to reference it. It's always nice to receive a follow-up email or a note, even if it was virtual. Okay. I feel like I'm rolling through these pretty quickly. Caitlin or Robin, do y'all have anything to add? I can keep going. Not?
I actually have a question. So for the distractions in the background, what would you recommend? Maybe like a virtual background like this, or like a plainer virtual background, if at all possible? Would that make it easier?
I think so. Maybe plainer would be better. But if you can't get a less distracting background in real life, then virtually doing that would be. Can you do like a virtual white background?
I'm sure there's something out there that you can definitely
Yeah,
find on the internet.
yeah, yeah.
I think a real background would be better if it's not distracting, if it's plain, like just in your room in front of a blank wall or something that's not distracting. I think would be better than a virtual background. The thing with the virtual background is when you move, you sometimes like your ears disappear or your part of your hair
It's kind of
disappears or
glitchy. Yeah.
something. And so I would recommend a real background if you can.
Okay, great, thank you.
We have a question from the chat. Deepa asks, so I think this is probably dependent from company to company, but are there any specific questions someone shouldn't ask or questions to stay away from during interviews?
Robin, do you mind? I know you had shared a good example earlier.
Yeah, I'll say first of all, don't ask about compensation at this point in the in the interview. But the one that I actually, the one that I had earlier was, I during the career fair, I felt a couple times like I was being interviewed. Um, so it's good for you to ask questions about the company, but I had a couple of people who asked me things like, what is the favorite part? What is your favorite part of your job right now? And the job that I'm doing right now is really completely irrelevant to the jobs that we were interviewing for. And so a better question would be, what's your favorite thing about your company in general? Or even better would be asking a question about the job, or that, like Minju mentioned, that shows that you've done your research. But I would just avoid it. And I know finding out about the company culture is good, so asking questions about the culture is fine, but just don't, like I said, don't interview the interviewer.
Yeah, to build on that, I know specifically, and you guys might not know this because I don't know if you've done your research on Phillips 66 just for this meeting, but on our front page, it talks about one of the latest, a really big project that we've taken on. It's made headlines. I mean, it's kind of big news right now for Phillips 66, and it was really impressive when people were able to cite that. And a really great question around that Robin had mentioned was, hey, what would a new hire potentially be able to contribute to a project like your new renewable diesel project? And so that shows, your interest, that you've done research, but also it's asking about, what could you do, what the role could be like, stuff like that. So I thought that would have been a really cool question. No one asked me, but it also would have been a difficult one. I'm not as intimate with that project, but would have been a great question regardless. Any other questions? Or should I move on?
I don't see any more right now.
Awesome. Okay, so another one is be engaging. This is something maybe you might not think of. Try and maintain eye contact. That's a little awkward. I've been trying to do it too, but you got to stare at the camera, not at the pictures of the people on Zoom or WebEx. So that's what makes it more look like you're having eye contact. But if we're both doing it, like we're really not looking at each other. But every now and then it would be nice to do that, and it's more of a full view anyways of looking at somebody. Try not to fidget. I know you're sitting in your chair, and this is something you should do even when you're in person, is try not to swivel or shuffle your papers, tap your pen, or whatever. Like I feel like it's a little bit more amplified too when it's on video and you're like moving around, especially if it gets laggy and it's just kind of weird. So definitely don't be typing on your computer at that time either. Try to articulate, again, with technical issues. There's lag sometimes, and it's just good not to speak too fast anyways. And and you got make a little bit extra effort to show some enthusiasm and connect with the interviewer. Again, something that might be a little bit more difficult to do virtually than in person. It's something I felt a lot like. Obviously, these students were there wanting, an opportunity, but a lot of times it just didn't show. It didn't reflect virtually, and so. Just try and be a little bit more upbeat. Don't be afraid to make personal connections as well. It doesn't have to be all business. Try not to sound too rehearsed, robotic, or reading from a script. Yeah. And then lastly, just some general tips, not necessarily virtual, but keep your resume to one page unless you have a ton of, or unless you're like a master's or PhD and you have like a bunch of research papers, published papers, but also make sure it's up to date. I had some people who had really great experiences that they were talking to, but it wasn't on their resume yet. So I would just make sure whatever you're attending that you've uploaded the latest that you've had, as well as don't fill it with fluff that you're really not, that you really can't speak to. So something I know Caitlin mentioned, like you wouldn't put SWE on there and then when you're asked about it, be like, oh yeah, I'm part of this organization called SWE, and like people will be like, what, really, are you really a part of that organization? So just make sure it's something you're actually a part of. You can actually speak to things that you are passionate about and have learned from and can talk about. For this is something more Phillips specific. I don't know what it's like for other companies, but we do behavior-based interviewing. So it's not just what you accomplished. It's a lot of how you handle different situations. So be prepared for those types of questions as well. Talk about your takeaways from past experiences. I know a lot of you guys might struggle with having canceled internships and stuff this past summer. And so you might not have a lot of technical experiences to draw from, but try and think about what you can expand on even in other things, even if it was working retail or volunteering somewhere, a research project you got to take a part of. I don't know, just and try and apply and what you've learned and how you can talk more about that, as well as being able to speak to your weaknesses, whether it's a low GPA or a lack of technical experience. If you have a good story for it, it's always, it couldn't hurt to share. And lastly, this kind of goes with the whole being engaging and stuff, but really sell yourself. A lot of times, if I didn't feel like I got a lot of meat out of the person, I might just say, like, what is one thing you'd really want me to know? And not a lot of people had a lot to say about that. And this is the time to really be able to sell yourself. Don't be shy about, tooting your own horn or coming up with something to say. So yeah, I mean, I think these are all the ones that I prepared to speak to. Again, I might look to Caitlin and Robin to share anything else I may have missed or any other tips, or an opportunity to answer any more questions.
So I would recommend that you practice. I know there's a lot of opportunities to do mock interviews, but even if you don't have that opportunity, just ask someone that you know well, that you feel comfortable with to interview you. And even if that person doesn't really know what it takes to interview, you can give them some of the behavior-based interview questions that you look up on Google and, help them interview you, but do it. Maybe even do a video of yourself doing it and then listen to it, and you can see all of the ums that you say, to be careful of that, or the That's the one that I find myself counting how many times students say like sometimes because it gets really annoying, or so there's a few fillers that people use, and I'm guilty of it myself when I'm nervous, but video yourself, and that might clue you into some things that you need to work on.
Awesome. Were there any questions?
So far, there aren't any questions in the chat. Do any of our officers have questions, though?
What advice would you give to the individuals who maybe like had an internship or an opportunity this summer, but it got canceled? Like, what advice would you give to them to be like, hold out, or like just to give them some encouragement, or how to move on at this point?
Yeah, so personally, when I saw that, I mean, I saw that a lot. So it's not anything I personally held against anybody, for sure. One thing that did stand out to me are those who, even though they didn't get to do it, took the time to explain, hey, this is what I was supposed to do. This is the role I was going to do, and knew a little bit about what they were going to do instead of just, hey, I had this job, but it got canceled, the end. Like, it was kind of interesting that they had a good understanding of what their role was going to be.
Yeah, and to echo that, definitely put it on your resume and talk to it. Because for us, going through the interview process and being selected for an internship is no small feat. Like it's pretty competitive, right? So the fact that you were able to still land that internship with a company, and then nothing that you could do in your control, that it was canceled. So make sure that it's on the resume. We saw plenty of those that said canceled due to COVID-19, but still had the description, because that speaks for itself a lot of times, that you were able to at least land internships somewhere and didn't just plan to hang out at home all summer.
Also, don't lose hope if even after this this career fair season that you don't have an internship yet for next summer, because there will be another career fair in the spring. We're all hoping and praying that some of the COVID things that have happened are behind us. You'll have one more semester under your belt, so you'll be, one step or one more semester of knowledge in your brain, and companies probably will take a chance at hiring maybe sophomores who wouldn't have otherwise gotten a job offer, or maybe even freshmen. So don't give up. Also, there's a lot of smaller companies that go to the spring career fair that might be willing to take a shot on students who didn't already have an internship. So hang in there.
Something else too, and of course this summer's already passed, but if you were able to still pivot and do something else, it was good to hear about that as well, even if it wasn't an internship, like a technical thing. But yeah.
Okay, so there are a couple of questions in the chat now. Abby Rooney was asking how you can practice being technical without being in school, or I guess having an internship. Like, how do you practice technicality in your daily lives?
I guess I saw some examples where they were able to find a research project to be a part of. I don't know if this is answering the question. Practicing technical stuff in your daily life.
So one way might be to tutor, to either volunteer or for pay. to tutor students that are in math, science, even engineering, maybe an earlier year than you are. Or I know that the SEC this last summer, the Student Engineers Council, they did a lot of what they called directed internships, I think is what it was called, where it was really like a project, but they pulled multifunction or multidisciplinary groups together to work on solving a problem. And those were interesting to see. I think that was a good way that organization tried to help students who didn't get an internship. So you might have to ask around for those kinds of things that are going on. But lots of organizations have projects and like ChemiCar and I don't even know what all of them are, but maybe it's getting more involved in the extracurricular activities that are related to your discipline.
Great, thank you. So Sarah Garcia also is asking if you could look back at your college self, what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself looking for experience or being the best engineer you can be, etc.?
Who's gonna jump in? Caitlin.
I was gonna say, Caitlin, do you want to take this one?
I can go. So one thing for me personally, and this is kind of, I feel like an easy way out answer because all of y'all are already doing it, but get involved in these professional organizations. I did not do SWE, I did not do ASME. I like kind of distanced myself from engineers as much as I could, which worked somehow, but I knew nothing about different companies. I didn't have the interview skills. I didn't go to events like this to kind of be able to learn all of the different things that are out there. So y'all are already a step ahead, getting exposure to all the different industries, as well as making those connections with your classmates. So that, for me personally, that's my answer, but y'all are obviously already doing it because here you are at SWE.
Yeah, mine would probably be similar, but also to take advantage of all of the resources that are available. I didn't really do any of that either. I can't even remember if I even went to the career fair, like and they have, like Robin was saying, mock interviews or people that will look at your resume, and all these different organizations that have different resources within themselves as well. I would take advantage of all of that because it's all free and all very helpful. Even, honestly, I would say even if you've landed a job already, I don't know, you'll continue to interview throughout your career. So any practice you can get doing that, I think is very helpful.
I would just say have more fun. You're only young once. I am 51 years old and I wish I had taken advantage of those years more than I did. Have fun. Don't spend your whole college career with your nose in a book.
I'll agree to that as well. I always say my only regret in life is graduating early. I know some people stay late at the party, and I left before it even started. So I've had people ask if they should graduate early, and I always tell them no, because you have the rest of your life to work, and you'll never be a college student again. So I don't know how many people actually consider graduating early, but if you are, don't do it.
Take a gap year, in fact.
That's right.
And if you do work hard your freshman, sophomore year and land those internships, it makes getting the full-time job so much easier. So then you can have that fun junior, senior year and kind of not ride it out. That's a bad way to say it, but have have the fun that Robin was talking about. Because yeah, and then I didn't do a gap year, but I did a gap decent amount of months and did the trip to Europe and all that after graduation. So do that because you're never going to be able to do it again.
Well, you are just you never at that young age.
That long.
Thank you guys. I love all those responses. Definitely wrote some of that down. So Linus Bati was also asking how you sell yourself if you don't necessarily have a strong GPA.
Well, is there a story behind why, perhaps? Even if you're being really honest, I mean, my freshman year, I did terribly. I did not adjust very well. I went to college and it's your first time not having other people telling you what to do. And I had a little bit too much fun that year, but I learned from it and I made up for it in the subsequent years and I brought it up. But still, once you kind of tank your GPA, there's only so much you can do, right? Once you lose that 4.0, it's gone. Not that I was anywhere near 4.0, but just saying. So if you have a story, I think it's helpful. If you're honest, I think that's great too. I don't know. That's kind of my take.
Okay, well, thank you. Vanessa Zerpa is asking, is it okay if we have written notes with us while we are in an interview?
I can't say that I've ever
Can you
actually.
say that one more time? Sorry, I missed that.
Is it okay to have written notes with you while you're in an interview?
I have never actually seen that. The only thing that I could think that you might want to do, I know the behavior-based interview questions are about examples, and so maybe just a little piece of paper with, 1 or 2 words to remind you of your examples that you've thought of for those questions. And, you need to Google what that is about, but usually use an example to answer, multiple different questions, not in the same interview, but just depending on which questions are thrown at you. And so maybe just a few notes jog your memory on those, but I don't know. I can't really think of, we don't do technical interviews and you wouldn't really want to have notes for that anyway. So I don't know what other notes you might, if whoever asked that question, do you want to expand on it a little more, what you might have in mind?
And while we're waiting on that, the only other notes that I've seen is people with their list of questions as far as at the end, they kind of glance down and make sure I wanted to ask these 5 questions and here's a list of them. But virtually, I mean, you can have that, I guess, sitting on a sticky note on the side of your computer and we won't even see it also. So
yeah,
up to you on that one.
Well, I don't know if she might want to expand on that, so I'll give her a few minutes to write in the chat if she does. But while we're waiting, Deepa Chowdhury was asking, what are the top things to put on your resume? When writing my high school resumes, I've always had issues fitting everything into one page, but I'm also worried that I'm not highlighting all of my accomplishments.
Well, of course, the basics, your major, GPA, when you're graduating. If your GPA is not very strong, I think I've always heard just to drop it. But most people will probably ask anyways. Leadership is something that we look for. So anything that shows where you've displayed leadership or been in leadership roles. And then technical experiences or just any experiences that you want to speak to that again could show leadership or situations where you've learned or stuff like that. Something that I've seen that I don't ever really pay attention to is when people list coursework. I think that could be probably left off. I don't know what else.
Certainly
you guys?
job experience is one of the first things that we look at. You know, what did you do this last summer? What did you do summer before that? What other you know, are you, especially if you have a lower GPA, are you having to hold down the job while you're going to school just to pay for it? That's something that we certainly think about when, you know, when we're comparing candidates. I certainly by the time you're a junior, I would take anything from high school off. So even if you were valedictorian or you were, you know, had every honor and award in the book, don't put your high school stuff on there. Now, as a freshman or a sophomore, I can see that, especially if you were valedictorian, you might just put graduated valedictorian. But we don't need to know your high school GPA. We don't need to know all that stuff. So I don't. It again, it's hard for me to imagine that you can't get it all on one page. There's very few resumes that I've seen that are multiple pages that needed to be.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so Vanessa Zerpa, she was the one who asked about the having written notes. She was asking about like questions for the interview. So I think you guys kind of went over that, saying that that was okay for like questions. We don't have any other questions in the chat right now, so I have a question. So how is Phillips 66 kind of handling their projects with COVID going on, and how are like their internships looking to work with like students coming in and helping with projects or developing technical skills?
Yeah, I'll start with that. So this last summer, we honored all of our internships. We didn't rescind any of them. All of the internships that were in refineries were done in person. So they were, you know, folks were actually going out in the field, working in the office, same as the people who work at the refineries. All of our internships that were in Houston in the headquarters were virtual. So unfortunately, that was you know, not my favorite way of seeing that happen, but I think it was safest for everyone. Now we have our office in Houston we have been open since May 11th, and we're very careful. Everyone has to wear a mask unless you're seated at your desk. There's hand sanitization stations all over the place, and every time you sit down in a conference room, you have to wipe down the table. And they take your temperature every morning when you come in. You have to go through a little kiosk that takes your temperature. They're being very, very careful. And while there have been cases in the headquarters, as far as I know, there have been very, very few, if any, that were actually transmitted within at work. So right now, our plan for next summer is to have everybody in person. So
that's awesome.
Who knows what will happen between now and then, though.
Yes, like fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Manju or Caitlin, did you have anything else about the internships? Did you work with any of the interns, or know how that worked?
I worked with some virtually. I mean, and it was similar to how we've been working all summer, which, you know, a lot of WebEx meetings, phone calls and stuff like that. Because even if we've been in the office, our conference room capacity has been reduced. A lot of people still didn't really want to meet in person. So we've had a lot of WebEx meetings and stuff like that. But I think they still got to do a lot of networking. I had several reach out to me. So overall, I think it was similar. They just couldn't be there in person.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys. So it is officially 8:30, so our general meeting has officially concluded. I wanted to thank everyone who tuned in Facebook Live, and thank you to Phillips